Ay, ay, ay. That glare was something terrible, huh? Hey, so it's been a while since I've talked about the goats, and so I just wanted to give you guys kind of a little update on where we're at. A couple things that are going on. I'll show you inside the barn first, which is terrific. No goats in the barn. No goats in the stalls. We have had does with kids in those stalls for, almost 4 months off and on, which has made the barn very crowded and very smelly. But we finally got them all outside as we've been weaning and we've been selling a few of the bucklings. But what I was just going to show you what we're able to do now because we have them out, and this will actually segue into another video in the future, but because we have them out, we're able to use this spare stall now for spare hay storage. So we have our loft up top. It only holds 7 bales, which right now we're burning through about an alfalfa bale about every other day because all the lactating does have free choice alfalfa. And we're burning through a bale of straw about every 3rd day probably on bedding. So I wanted to get a little bit more space just because the loft, it works, it's not great. And my wife is too short to reach up there and pull a bale down, let alone actually lift the heavier alfalfa bales down. So I always be the one to get the bales down. But we get them down, we set them on our little side shelf here, which then she can work from and be able to pick off flakes and refill feeders wherever's needed. And then, of course, our 3 feed trash cans underneath. So we actually got a pretty good setup going. But because we have the stalls now open, I threw down spare feed sacks on the floor just because the floor is still kind of smelly from months of pee and poop. So I threw down the feed sacks for just a little barrier, and I stacked a few extra bales in the stall. Just saves me, if I'm going to go to the effort of starting the tractor and loading bales out of the shop, bringing them around here, I might as well make it worth it and bring as many as I possibly can. So that's inside the barn. What I wanted to mention is this stall for right now. We're leaving it open, and what I did for the first time today, and I'm going to try to start training the goats on, is before I started milking, I ran all of the lactating does into this stall. Okay, I have been taking the leash here. We use this little just lead leash. I have been taking the leash and going out and catching one at a time, which we've got a few that, they'll let you catch them, but they always try to run away, and it's just annoying. So this morning I ran them all in here first, got them all pinned up, caught as many of the kids as I could, threw them back out. And it actually was a little bit quicker because I was able to just open the gate, grab one of the does, let her run out, and actually several of them, ran and jumped right up on the stand on their own. Whoops, there, the stand, the milk stand. Jumped right up there on their own and got their head in the feed trough, so it actually made milking quite a bit quicker. When I'm done milking one, open the door, kicked her out. So that worked pretty well. I'm going to try to keep working with them more and get them trained on that to be the norm. Now, good God. You see what happens? You see what happens when I make a video, folks? The doorknob just falls apart. This is y'all's fault. No, it's just a really crappy design on the doorknob, and we're too cheap or poor to fix it. So we just deal with it, and we just put it back together every couple days. Okay, so outside we had Callie. I don't even know if I ever told you guys about Callie's kids. Callie was one of our first favorite does. She birthed twins in spring of 2019. One of those we lost within 48 hours. She had a respiratory issue or something. But that's where we got our little baby Harriet from. And so we went ahead and bred Callie back a little bit quicker than we really wanted to, but we wanted to try to get her on the same pattern as all the other goats. So we bred her back. She gave us triplets. Look at them all lined up. She gave us triplets December 30th of 2019. So she technically had 5 babies within a year, but we got that kind of done, and now she'll be on the same pattern as all the rest of the does. We'll breed in midsummer, not late summer like we did for Callie. Try to get her on the same schedule. We had Oreo in this pen here. Oreo gave us triplets as well. 2 does and a buckling. Oreo's the one I made the video about, the little doeling that was basically almost DOA, and Oreo had given up on her, and I managed to get her under the heat lamp and nurse her back to life, basically, get her back up on her feet, and then she's done great. That's actually This little one right here, little Susie Q. So that's our little baby that tried to die, and we brought her back. So Oreo, we got her out today. We just started today with her son, Kenny. Kenny, we've just started weaning today, so he's being a little bit louder. Holstein here is fully weaned and ready to sell. It's getting picked up tomorrow. Traeger is basically fully weaned. He'll get picked up. He's going to the same farm as Kenny. So we went ahead and wanted to get Kenny in here as a friend with Traeger since Holstein's going to leave. Kenny's doing fine. Kenny, for the next couple of days, we'll put him back with Oreo every night just so he can kind of get a gradual transition. But he's already eating, chewing his cud, so he should do just fine. We did lose, who was it? Eve's baby. So Eve gave us twin bucklings, and we lost one of those early on when we disbudded him. His disbudding somehow got irritated and infected. He died pretty much as fast as we realized it was. We realized he was in pain, and he was dead the next day. His brother, God, I can't even think of his name now. Anyway, her other buckling was seeming totally fine, and then when we tried to wean him, he got really depressed. He overate, we believe, and then got bloated, and we couldn't get the bloat fixed fast enough, and he ended up also dying. And then actually, those have been our only two deaths, other than on the Nubians. The Nubians had a stillbirth buckling as well. So we have been lucky that everything that has died has been bucks, which obviously they're not our high dollar assets anyway, but all the dolings have survived, and we actually haven't had any other DOAs. So, you know, given the past history that I talked about, you know, several years ago with our first kidding with Bluebell that had stillborn quintuplets, and then we lost the mom, that was very tragic. So this go around has been very, very rewarding, and just all around better. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is little Laurel. That's Oreo's other little girl. She had her hoof stuck in my pocket. So yeah, it's been a lot better. We're very, very thankful, very grateful for that. We've shifted a lot of stuff around. We've rebuilt a lot of pens. I think I've made some videos about that, maybe, maybe not. The bucks are currently in this combined pen. Just to get them moved away, they've got access to both of those little huts. We just don't actually need to close that pen off. And we're letting them have more room to run in that big pen. It's technically our biggest pen, actually. But it's a little bit mucky and nasty, so we let them have it. So we're not having to go in there as often. The only other ones that we would put in there would be the milking does, and we don't want to have to go in there twice a day to try to catch the milking does and then have them have nasty muddy feet up on the milk stand all over the place. We'll call it muddy feet, not poopy feet. Muddy feet. These three knotheads, these are our quote-unquote open does, junior does, whatever you want to call them. This little Harriet that I mentioned early on, that was Callie's baby from spring of 2019. Buttercup here missed her first breeding. When we bred her, she got big, her udder got big. We thought for sure she's pregnant, and then it just kind of all went away. So we rebred her pretty late, actually. She's the only one that we have left that we're waiting on to have babies. Buttercup has been bred and has failed to take 3 times in a row for us now. We think she's got some issue, obviously. She has a history of breeding just fine, but ever since we've owned her, we've not been able to get anything out of her. She seems like she's in heat all the time. She lets the bucks mount her all they want, and just nothing ever seems to work. So not going to sure what's going on there. Update on the Nubians. Of course, they both kidded same day. I don't know if I ever finished that video, actually. But they both kidded the same day, just a few hours apart. So it turns out the buck jumped the fence, you know, and got them both, which is fine. They gave us, Dory gave us triplets. The buckling was DOA. We take the blame on that one because we thought we saw her water break, but we really didn't know for sure, and she didn't go into labor right away. So we weren't really paying attention, and then by the time she finally started pushing, he was already, several hours later, he was already dead. Or saw the sack break, water break, whatever. But she, immediately after that, pushed out 2 little doelings. One of the spotted ones and one of the black ones were hers. The black doeling, we thought was a failure to thrive. We could not get her to stand up. We could not get her to stay on the teat. We went to bed expecting to find her dead the next morning. Came out the next morning to find her standing up nursing. So again, another great surprise, great blessing. Cindy, same day, gave us twin bucklings. Same thing, one of the black ones and one spotted one. There's 4 under there, y'all just can't see them very well. Oh yeah, you can see the fourth one over there behind the bucket. So they each had one mostly black and one mostly spotted baby. We're still really not hooked on the Nubians. You know, I talked about that when we got them. They were kind of a barter deal and just needed them to go to a good home, so we took them. But they really just don't fit our operation very well. So can you please get off of me? Can you please get off of me? My pants are filthy now, and I got another one behind me trying to eat my gloves. Anyway, we're just not hooked on the Nubians. They don't fit our operation very well. They're just bigger than what we want. But they are great milk producers. You know, we're getting, right now with them nursing their babies, we're getting probably 1/2 to 3/4 of a gallon a day out of the two of them combined. Once they wean their babies, they could make as much as a gallon a day apiece. I don't know if we'll get that out of them or not. But they are big milk producers. We don't really have a market for the milk. We're making as much cheese and butter and soap and everything as we can, and we're still getting overrun with the milk. So, you know, again, they're bigger than what we're really set up to do. They're not what we want to do. We're focused on Nigerian dwarves. So we are actively looking to sell the Nubians. This is not a sale ad. It's not what the point was, but hey, call me. We're looking for, you know, a good home. We're hoping somebody will take them both, because they're not actually sisters, but they've been together since birth. So we really don't want to split them up. We're offering them for sale, you know, as the doe with her kids, giving a really good deal. If we still have them by the time they wean, then, you know, anything could happen. We could split them up or do whatever. But at this point in the game, we don't plan really on keeping them. The only reason I would keep them is if we did find some market for the milk and we actually had a steady demand, then I would keep them and just sell the milk. Now, the lady we bought them from is buying all of the milk that they are producing, but she's buying it kind of a below market price. We're just doing that for her, just because, like I said, right now we're overrun with it. But again, you know, she's buying it. We're not losing money on it. It is paying the feed bill. But I just don't know if we want to hang on to them forever. They just stole my pocket knife out of my pocket. That was Carol, nibbled on my pocket. Right here. Carol nibbled on my pocket and stole my knife. But yeah, you know, I don't know. It would take a big change of heart, or a big change of the pocketbook somewhere to convince me to keep the Nubians. Again, they're just really not what we're after. So anyway, other than that, all of our lactating does and all of their doelings, we kind of give them free reign of the alleyway and what was the buck pen in the back here, the former buck pen. Because they have the whole alleyway, they have the equivalent of this double pen basically at the bucks are. They can run around a lot. They've got plenty of room to move. I really don't like having them in the alleyway because they're making it a nasty, poopy, sticky mess. But we can't lock them all up in that back pen. It would be too small then. We actually have the gate open right now today. The weather's perfect. So we're trying to get them to come out here into the big pen, which most of the time when we're milking, we keep the lactating does, you know, kind of restrained, if you will, just so they don't get out here in their pen and eat something nasty. But this time of the year, this pen is very well established at this point. They've pretty well grazed down anything and everything, so there's not a whole lot left that they could potentially get into. We do not let them out to fully free range, you know, out in the woods where they could get something new. So they pretty much just come out here and lay in the sun more than anything. So yeah, I haven't really changed anything on the lean-to. I got, you know, I was building it like crazy just to have space for pens. And since now our demand for pens is actually starting to drop, so has my motivation to finish the lean-to. So, you know, such is life. So yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, just wanted to come to you guys, give you a little update. You know, there's so much going on with the goats. You guys wouldn't believe it from my video content. You would think we're doing nothing with the goats, but we spend, golly, on average, I would say 3 hours a day out here between just milking and maintenance and weaning. And, you know, it is at least, at a minimum, it is 2 man hours a day. That is my wife and I both working together, 30 minutes worth of chores at a time. She does all the feeding and watering, and I do all the milking and mucking. So at a minimum, on a day where we don't muck the stalls at all, minimum's 2 hours a day that we're down here. If we're cleaning stalls, that adds probably another hour, and that's actually what I'm fixing to do right now. I'm fixing to pick up some of this manure out here. We have to muck the stalls out. We can't get the tractor in here to load directly into the bucket, which sucks. So we have to bring it all out here in the wheelbarrow, throw it out beside the Connex into a pile, which then becomes a massive fly trap and smells horrendous. It normally doesn't smell that bad, but if we get some wet, some really wet, kind of muddy soil mixed in with it, if it's not just straw and pee and poop, it can get pretty rancid. But we pile it up out here until we get a great big pile, and then I spend, I don't know, once it's a big pile, I spend maybe, an hour, 2 hours with the tractor and the bucket. We haul it all around out here to the garden. If you can see the pile right well, past the tip of my finger, we are getting quite the healthy pile of goat manure built up, which is fine because it is actively composting. I drive by with the tractor about once a week and just kind of roll it around, stir it up a little bit. But we will absolutely, definitely use that compost on the garden. So, cleaning the stalls, handling the litter, it's a little bit more labor intensive than I would like for it to be. But again, silver lining, it is going to be absolutely terrific soil. So there is a long-term and sort of incentive there, I guess. So yeah, like I said, there is a whole lot going on. I about said not a lot going on. There is a whole lot going on with the goats. I think we've just been too busy taking care of them to really talk about them much. So I wanted to give you guys a little update, tell you what was going on. I thought I was going to make a video every single time we had a new litter of babies, and it just doesn't happen. So yeah, that's it from Barlow Farms. It is February 5th or 6th, I think. It got pretty cold last night. Cold for us, down to about, 35. There was no frost this morning, but it was chilly. And there's a north breeze today, but the sun is shining, so it is a beautiful day here on the farm. Hope you guys like it. Give me comments, questions. Let me know how things are going.